Welcome back to the Four Podmen with your new host, Ian Dynamo Kelly. In fact, your original host it is. And I am here with two of the OGs. Yes, they haven't gone anywhere. They are still here. They're still looking awesome. Jay is looking even especially more awesome with those two beautiful pieces of gold beside him. Joe decided just for familiarity that he's going to keep the same flags up that he's had since day one. And I'm happy with that. You are very welcome back to the Dynamo Podcast Network, and you are very welcome back to the Four Podmen. We have a special episode for you today, and we decided without the shopkeeper, we'd give him a break because he's on meltdown with football transfers, with this and that. The lad needs a break.
He's been carrying a lot of slack the last 2 months, a lot of my slack the last 2 months, so he's deserved his rest.
There we go. So today, lads, we thought we'd do something kind of, I suppose, a little bit different for us as a trio. Something similar to what myself and Joe done as a duo, and something similar to what myself and Jay done as a duo. And we talk about the current product, but as a trio, we haven't done so. So I thought this would be the three Podmen today. I love it. Lads, what a crazy 2 weeks in our crazy business, and how the landscape has just completely shifted and changed in so many different ways. Jay, I'll start with you. Obviously, we had talked pre CM Punk, debut, and we had talked about how big it would be, but little did we know that you've got even someone like Jim Cornette saying now that there's Road Warrior pop and then there's CM Punk pop, and it's actually a thing now. It's absolutely crazy. And not only that, it wasn't just one night; it was the second week in a row in a different building.
People are excited again in this arena of passion, which we've chose to lay our hearts down. I think we only realize now how bleak and how lean the last 2 years of an entertainment product has been put towards us, and we've always tried to find the good and gold in it, and unfortunately you have to sift through the fucking ash at times to find the gems. And it's exciting to be a wrestling fan again. It's genuinely exciting to be on the cusp of the second golden era of big company rivalry. We haven't had this in so long, and it's so exciting. And what struck me as odd is how pessimistic you can get whilst trying to find what you love about this sport. You forget sometimes that it's solely about entertainment. And this last 2 weeks, we have been fucking entertained, regardless of your allegiance or which company you choose. Competition is good for everybody, and the workers are the ones who benefit the most from fans coming in and watching the product. And
yeah,
it's just lovely to see so much excitement around the world for wrestling, for more so for the people doing it, more so for the people who are almost the forgotten story here. It's usually us versus the company as fans versus the fucking the content creator. And there's those boys in the middle who are sweating, breaking their balls, breaking their necks, and earning not a lot at the start of their careers, who are essentially the spotlight. They're the center of it. And it's just great for them to be on the cusp of something so exciting again. And we deserve to be excited.
And we definitely are going to get into that, because obviously there's a lot coming out now. Like a lot coming out. You're looking at the joint. Joe, I'm going to put this to you. You're looking at the joint that has basically had the monopoly for pretty much the best part of 20 years. Yeah. No real competition, had their own performance center. Everything was looking great. And then all of a sudden, NXT is going down a bit now. Okay, we don't have, they're not even doing it in the place that they shot it anymore. They're going to do it in the performance center. It's talk to me, Joe. I know you're not the biggest WWE fan, and rightly so. You've made your opinions known in the past on more times than one, and I'd say you are quite happy in the sense that WWE are getting kind of, they're kind of getting challenged. Would be the fairest way of saying it, because the company that's challenging them is bringing your company into it, which is TNA, of course. So I mean, it's a win-win.
Player 3 has entered the race.
Yes. So, no, Joe, talk to me. I mean, like, it's very interesting, isn't it? Because obviously this did change the whole dynamic. And then not only that, we still have more to come for AEW as well. But like in terms of how you see it now, and obviously with the whole SummerSlam, Becky Lynch returning, a lot of people didn't like the return because it kind of buried a baby face. I personally did like it. I thought it made sense to me, but
Hey, if
you can
people
see
didn't like it, McMahon did his job well.
I personally thought it made sense, but at the same time, I can see why it didn't make sense to other people. So, Joe, the floor is yours.
You know, I was one of those that wasn't crazy about that Becky Lynch comeback. Solely because of how WWE handled it, and burying Bianca Belair like that. Just, I think is disgusting.
Do you think it makes sense if it makes? We'll talk about that later. Anyway, yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Sorry, but look, the rise of AEW is fantastic for wrestling fans and wrestlers alike. Gives wrestlers a viable option to jump ship. It gives fans something else to lay eyes on. And look, WWE, you know that whole SummerSlam thing was them shooting themselves and going, AEW is going to have the eyes of the world on us with CM Punk coming back. We have to do something big. But the thing with WWE is they always go back to time. Oh, who can we bring back? We need a nostalgia pop. So Brock Lesnar. And like after a couple of weeks, Brock Lesnar, he's going to get booed again. People are going to be pissed off at him because he won't be there. And people just go, this lad, he's back doing his same old shit, getting paid huge money to do fuck all. And while other people that are there breaking their backs every week aren't getting a look in. Because it happens every time he comes back. People like, amazing, Brock Lesnar's back. Oh yeah, I forgot Brock Lesnar's back. That's what happens.
Was he gone?
And look, Becky Lynch being back is fantastic in general. Like, it's brilliant. As I said, I just don't like what they did with.
And as a heel as well, going back straight into the heel, factor, I think is what kind of makes it kind of really good, because it keeps the momentum, I suppose, of Bianca Belair, and allows Becky to do what she can do as the anti-hero. But at the same time, that can go 50-50, can't it, Joe? Because
it can, yeah. But look, Becky's good enough to pull it off. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. She's more than good enough to pull it off. There are some people you do that with, and you just know from the start it won't work. But someone like Becky can be a tweener and absolutely nail it week in and week out. And I think she's going to do that. So she spent, when she was at her most popular, she was a tweener anyway. She was doing a lot of healing stuff,
that's true.
And beloved by the crowd. Yeah. So she's more than capable of pulling that off. I don't doubt that. But the Brock Lesnar thing, as I said, that people will get tired of it soon enough. I could be wrong, but people usually tire of him fairly quick, and especially if he comes back and he's just not arsed. And when Brock Lesnar is not arsed, he's awful to watch.
Well, here's something I wanted to put to Jay here now, right? Obviously, AEW have done such a great job in their production. Like they've done what WCW didn't really quite do back in the day, and match WWE for production. You know what I mean? I always loved WCW production because it looked a little bit more old school, but they've actually got their whole camera angles, every stuff that we couldn't speak about because we're not professionals in that kind of world, but we know what we see and it looks amazing. And I think it showed that CM Punk comeback. AEW released the video and showing the boys in the back, switch to camera 2, camera 3. That guy, I don't know his name now, he was part of all the WrestleManias, a lot of them. And he left because he was sick of Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon. He left and he went to do baseball. What have AEW done? They went and gone, right, we're going to get that guy, we're going to get that guy, we're going to get that guy. And they all just seem to be happy to come to work now. And that's the feeling that I get from AEW. And I think that's where WWE, with their whole be a bully campaign or don't be a bully campaign, whatever it is.
Be a star.
Yeah, whatever the hell that they come up with, just to appease people's, a lot of it's coming out and shown, isn't it, that their backstage environment is quite toxic.
But again, it all comes down to perception. One, we don't speak about this from an expert perspective simply because our value is in being fans.
Absolutely.
The world is full of experts with opinions.
I agree.
We keep our chats up with the weekly product, and we only review what we see. But I think comparing the two shows now is kind of like going into McDonald's, say, kind of WWE has its way and its style of doing things, and everybody knows what that is before they sign the contract, but they're so eager to work to sign the contract, not realizing what they're getting themselves into. Then there's other people who adapt to this style of work and thrive and grow. And there's a formula over in WWE. They'll throw shit at you for 10 years before, gimmick after gimmick, before you prove to them, I can do it. I can get over whatever you put on me. And then the company goes, okay, now we'll take you seriously. But
and then you're 43 years old and then you can't do it anymore.
Yeah. And you're earning money that you can't get anywhere else. Like, I mean,
true. Yeah.
People who are intelligent about their careers only come to WWE in the twilight when it's time to earn some big green to go into the fucking retirement situation. And that's different worker perspectives from the product and how they force it. It's again, WWE is more like McDonald's in the sense that you can go into any restaurant across the world and it's the fucking same menu, the same people, the same thing, the same setup, and the same system. Some love it, some don't. The wrestling world has been waiting. We often talk about the camera angles and how they need to rein in their production better and let us be fans from a little bit further away from the action, so it's just more viewable.
We want that smoky, like we're different. Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you were to watch the way they film a movie with the breaks and the cuts and the break scenes, and it takes 3 days to do one fucking fight scene, it doesn't work anymore. The magic is gone, and competent production with creative flair can create a really, really good viewing experience, and AEW is getting there slowly. They are. It's improving vastly, and I think
you know what I would actually dare say, Jay, I'm not one to usually put words in your mouth, nor would I attempt to on a regular basis. But I think what you're trying to say there is that it's getting there very fastly. Because, like I said, this is a baby company. Like when we talk about, say 1989 when the transition from Crockett to WCW went into WCW, 89 to say 93, it was a very slow process. You know what I mean? Very slow process. And we were lucky enough to have the likes of Ron Simmons as our world champion, all and companies like that back in the early 90s. And we had our rules and we had our steamboats and stuff like that. The guys that weren't really getting a crack in the WWE, even though they look like they should. AEW seem to have fast-tracked a lot of the production, and I think
they're using a lot of what Vince did originally to get to be Vince and his company. Like he literally cherry-picked all the bits he liked about different territories and the people he liked, assembled them all, and worked the process up to the point where WCW said, actually, no, there's a second brand in town. And Khan, as a fan of wrestling, he's clearly a fan of wrestling, and we've mocked him many times for the AEW-CW angle. And he's trying to rebuild what he used to love about a sport that he did love with his own money, which is essentially it's the ultimate fan dream, isn't it? When did they stop loving wrestling, and what did I love about it, and how can I assemble the bits that the other company is shaving off to make a more refined product, and then put it all together in a big company? And what tripped him up was the global pandemic. And I feel like he was waiting until the fucking...
Very shrewd, wasn't he? He was very shrewd.
Well, he used that quiet year of wrestling, where it was a quiet year of wrestling, to basically elevate a whole mid-card of his talent. I mean, we were very critical of a lot of the talent, but they were learning on their fucking feet on television in front of the world with no crowd in front of them. And he's brought them all up to the point where we can see where they're good at, what they're good at, where their strengths are, and who won't make it in the long run. And now he's just added a main card into the mix as well. So he's already used the bad year to groom a mid card, a lower card, and create some new characters. So that's not just yesterday stars today repackaged and rebranded. It's very smart. It's not something I realized until the companies kind of lift the barrier and have the fans back. It is. He's got his whole second show roster ready to go simply because he's hiring so many new people. He has a locker room and a B locker room right there ready to go.
Joe, do you want to add on to that? Because I was thinking what Jay said is 100% correct. I mean, he's acting like a proper GM in American sports terms, that like you have, for example, for me, I'm a big hockey fan. You've got 4 lines. You've got your fourth line that's usually there to, keep everything okay. your third line, your second line, and your first line, and it tends to get better as you go up the tiers. And now he's just added to his first line, probably the biggest piece that you could possibly add.
Yeah, but by adding to his first line, and I talked to you about this before, Ian. I think it was on the Dozen show, was like that it didn't throw him straight into the main event scene, which of course I am fucking delighted.
I know you love that, yeah.
I love that. Whereas you look at the other company, they have 2 comebacks, both of them straight into the main event scene. For fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Do they?
What?
Brock never left, and the other company's been very smart about how they're playing their cards as well, just in a very different way. Having
But I'm just talking about
up
personally, Jay. I hate these guys coming in and just getting title shots.
Yeah,
straight off the bat.
I agree.
Because I spoke to Ian about that before. Whereas AEW have said from the start they want it where people have to work their way up to these titles.
Yeah,
and where he's come in, he's challenged Darby Allin, which I think could be fucking phenomenal.
I think so.
My love of Darby Allin just continues to grow. But
I think we're all in that one, aren't we? We all mutually.
Well, I think it's because we all looked at Darby Allin and went, "This guy's going to be bullshit. He's going to be diving off everything. He's going to have to kill himself every week to prove himself. This guy's going to be crap." And he's been unbelievable. Now, initially he did do some of that stuff, that insane shit where he was putting a bag of thumbtacks and throwing the Brian Cage, I think, tried to kill him.
Leaping into the front row.
But he's clearly sat down and listened to the likes of JR, Aaron Anderson, Tully Blanchard, these old school guys that have told him, you don't need to do that shit.
Slow it down.
There are other ways to get over.
And he's done it on a social media environment as well, where he said whatever people are saying about, when Kenny Omega was getting his little feelings hurt, he was actually coming out and saying, no, we should be listening to JR.
Well,
I think that's in fairness, what you appreciated.
Yeah. And also, I think by looking at Kenny Omega, I think he started to listen to these guys too.
I think so.
He's changed his style a good bit too.
He's stepped up. Yeah, he's stepped up.
Now, look at AEW. Like, I know you for a long time were quite frustrated with them, Ian, but I know. But as you said earlier, they're a baby company. They're still finding their feet, and yet they're knocking it out of the park already. I think there's just nothing but a great future for them, from what I can see anyway.
Yeah, and I think before I pass it over back to Jay, I think from my perspective, it was like that I was always on their side, and any critique that I was given was purely because it was out of passion and wanting them to succeed.
You expressed it quite badly at times, though, with just pure blistering anger,
frustration.
It's what it is. I'm a Bulldogs fan. What can I say? Hey, Dynamite Kid's my favorite wrestler. How the hell else am I going to express myself? Jay,
what?
Talk to me. Based on what Joe just said.
Look.
What?
No, you're not wrong. Nobody's wrong. I think the great thing that's come to light is he knows he has stars. Watching Darby develop from an egg, from a nobody, and
that's how it is for us. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we're clued in. We're watching him develop his character and his role on TV too, and that can't be fucking easy for him. I mean, and now overnight, over the space of a fucking couple of months, their whole locker room has been terraformed by these massive fucking drafts, and I think if Khan was smart, the development of Darby into a fan favorite and a crowd favorite, and allowing them to talk truth on social media. And let's face it now, social media is where characters are being developed now. The use of modern technology in storytelling has been brilliant as well. I mean, these drafts and who's been fired and who's been heard and where they're going has been almost as compelling as the work that's been put out.
Yeah,
it's pulling us back into the inside of the industry as well as watching just what's in the ring, and watching them develop as people and as workers it's intriguing. It's almost like reality TV in the wrestling world as a caveat to what you want. So you're given two options. You can read the dirt sheets, you can read the internet speculation, you can watch the YouTube fucking newsreels, and you can watch the product in relation to what's being said outside of the locker room. And hasn't been like this ever before. It hasn't been as inside, and not in a bad way, not in a breaking down the fourth wall and, oh, what are you telling the truth about things for? And as in a, well, they're allowing us to see these personalities behind the gimmicks, which endears them to us as humans. You know, the kind of way Mick Foley did by being a lovely guy to everybody, regardless of where they were from. That got him over as a pro wrestler more so than his fucking work. Like, it's just an added flavor.
Here's a question for you, Jay, right? It's actually something
Yeah.
I never even thought about or even spoken about on these shows. With someone like Darby Allin, who is a bit of a favorite of ours, I don't know what it is that he has, but it's something that we like. You
It's
know,
a genuine love for the business. He loves
yeah,
being a pro wrestler.
he has it.
Mm.
How valuable is it for Sting to be on his shoulder every other week? I mean, you know, he's not just there as a prop. I mean, he's helping this guy going blah 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 blah. You know what I mean?
It's brilliant. It's like it's the star on top of the Christmas tree. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, having Sting beside him in the corner has taken what could have been a jackass-esque wrestler doing crazy shit to entertain us to, it's like, slow it down, kid. You do that style, you'll have 10 years maybe. But if you do it this way, you'll be like the Stinger and still be doing that fucking 65 and still be popping crowds and still be taking care of business. Now, you can be one of two things: a legend in your own mind or a legend in the ring. Those are two completely different things. And then there's a level-headedness to Sting, which we all respect. He was the one guy who didn't go to WWE when it was time to make money. And when he did go, he did it because why not? They're putting serious money on the table.
And then he got fucking screwed and then went, fuck it, I'm out of here again.
But even, you know what, even that helps the Sting story. They're like, yeah, we all knew this was going to happen and so did you, but I'm glad that it happened while you made like 65 million quid out of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and the minute he takes a hard bump, we have a running joke in the sitting room where we call it the Sting job, me and Kev. It's like, oh my god, I've hurt myself badly in this match. Have I fulfilled my obligations? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'll take that money now. Thanks, bye. Do you know what I mean? And we call that the Sting bump, and it's the equivalent to the Lloyd's of London bump in the mid-90s. You know what I mean? Oh my god,
I know all about
it. I'll
it.
Never wrestle again. Give us that 65 million, please.
I wish they would have had that fucking thing for bingo halls too.
Well, look, it's the Sting's run in WWE is probably the most financially profitable run in any wrestler's career in any division.
Oh, he's a very smart businessman.
You know what I mean? Oh my god,
businessman. Yeah.
My t-shirts aren't selling anymore. Yeah, okay, I'm going to AEW. Thanks. Sorry, me back's grand. Yeah, grand. Thanks for that, Vince. Yeah, he took the company to the rinser.
Joe,
just to go back to Ian's original point about Sting being a help to Darby Allin, and I'm sure he is a massive help, because I remember a few of the TNA guys used to talk about how Sting used to help them when he first came over. He was really helpful, really nice, and no problem, you know, helping any of them out or putting a guy over if he needed to. And you know, so I'm sure he's done wonders for Darby Allin.
He has. Yeah, it's almost like a passing of the torch, isn't it? It's like there's a day where I won't be able to wear the Stinger face paint, son, and you're running around in this black and white fucking skeleton face paint.
And you know what's awesome?
One day you can have my face. Here, have the mask.
You know what's awesome? Well, the guy is 63 years of age and he's still great standing up there. You know what I mean? Like when the camera, that's how great. Like as we were talking about the camera, with him standing there, it was like, wow. And I'm sure CM Punk was just kind of going, this is awesome, being able to fucking interact with the Stinger. You know what I mean? Because I mean, for me personally, I'd be like, yeah, I want to get to you to get to him. You know what I mean?
Another aspect, Ian, it legitimizes and validates all the bullshit people threw at all those men who worked hard in other companies and federations to get to the big shows. Like, am I still an indie wrestler? Because that's fucking Sting over there in the other corner. Surely this validates me as a professional.
Absolutely.
You know?
And think about it. It's like Joe was talking about earlier to kind of lend like quite a bit of validity to Joe's point. Like he could have literally chosen his poison. Right, I want to go straight into a program with Kenny Omega, and Tony Khan would have went, yeah, whatever you want. Because the press conference afterwards, you could just see Tony Khan sitting beside CM Punk going, he's just happy. Whatever you want, son. Ice cream, whatever. Like, but there you go. There's the CM Punk effect. He's a professional wrestling mastermind first before he's a superstar. He goes, I cannot come in here. I want to build something. I want to get in here and get in the ring with the likes of a Darby Allin, help elevate this guy. And then I can build myself, and I'll make the company better as a whole. That's the process. You know what I mean? And that's what really great professional wrestlers did, like from, Bret Hart to the not Hulk Hogan's to, to the not Shawn Michaels and all those guys. Build the company as a whole. And I think that's exactly what he done. It's like Ric Flair did it. That's the best example I can make. Ric Flair did it with small territories. He made the territories better for being in it. You know what I mean?
Another aspect of that, Ian, as well. All them names you just mentioned, Bret Hart, CM Punk, Ric Flair, what they all done, which 95% of the wrestling world doesn't do, is they put their personal brand first before the company brand, and they held the integrity to tell people when they went to other companies. Now, first of all, you're booking and hiring CM Punk. You're not throwing a second name on me. Secondly,
yeah, exactly.
My entrance music is going to be the same wherever I go. I am who I am. And a lot of people will go get different gimmicks thrown on them, the name change. We all know who they are. But those men didn't. They're just, wherever they go, they are who they are. It was like Macho as well, wherever he went. A Macho Man. Dig it.
Very, very good point. Macho, like wherever he went straight in there and it was Macho Man. Actually, Jay, we haven't heard from you on the return of Punk. For you, when you watched that, like, I'd be interested to know what you thought, because myself and Joe obviously talked about it. What was that comeback like for you? I'd say, like most of us, you were like, what the fuck? This is unreal.
Well, first and foremost, I was very excited. I called that weekend the Grand Declaration of War. These two companies are locking horns, and this was, they're putting the two armies on the battlefield. And like, how can you deny the pop he got? Like, and the fact that bigger than the pop was his own personal pop, listening to his cadence in his mouth and sitting there, and he's like, how dare you make me not want to do what I loved to begin with? How dare you stunt and depress me to the point where I couldn't even look at a turnbuckle? Everything I am and everything I love, you took away from me, and you stripped it off me. And if anything, you've just made me better than I ever was, simply because I want to flush you down the fucking toilet for what you've done to me here.
That's the best way it could have been described.
Yeah. And he has rolled into AEW not as a soldier under a captain. He's rolled in as a general. Man, listen to me. We are all going forward. We are all going over. If you work with me, we can do this thing. None of this executive vice presidents left, right, and center. None of this silly bullshit. We are a wrestling promotion.
Follow me.
Global. It is fucking time. It is time. And it was just, unite the clans. It was exciting.
It was very
exciting to be a wrestling
Celtic,
fan.
wasn't it? It was very Celtic. It was very Brian Boru.
It was a grand declaration of war. And that's what it was. It's like, boys, we going over. Ain't nobody stopping us. And it was...
My favourite line in the whole thing was going back to the company that made me sick in the first place. I was like, that's powerful.
Yeah, he's gone to war with another company. Not for he hasn't gone to war for a paycheck. He could pick up. He doesn't need money. He's not in that ring again because he's broke. His wife is earning more money than half the roster on the other company. It doesn't matter. He's there to wrestle, and that's exciting.
He's there for the love. It's Joe. What did you think about the line in 2005? I left pro wrestling. I've been trying to talk to some people about this, and they're trying to argue with me. And I said I would do a show and I would explain what that means. Now, as three men who love this business, and Joe, as a former wrestler yourself, explain to people what he meant by that.
Well, I can't speak to what to his mind.
No, but in terms of the pro wrestling, you signed a big deal with the big company. It doesn't mean that he didn't wrestle professionally. Like he meant.
Yeah. No, I look his. I think he was talking about how, like, his love for the sport was slowly murdered by that company.
Yeah.
And he considers him going to it was the beginning of the end, really. And that's what I think anyway. And he walked into a place where you weren't allowed to mention wrestling. You were a sports entertainer, you were a superstar. You weren't a wrestler and you weren't wrestling.
His identity was stole from him.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's something I've never understood about WWE, and where they have, like, I think you're not allowed to call it a belt or a title. You have to call it a championship or something. Is that
Strap.
right? Or
You're not allowed to call it a strap
strap? Yeah, like what the hell? And then these
or a belt. Yeah.
horrifically scripted promo, yeah, and these horrifically scripted promos that they give these people. Like, now I can understand not wanting to do a sink or swim thing, because you could miss out on someone being amazing by by putting too much on their shoulders initially. But there's a lot, like, don't like, some people will thrive being handed something and going, look, follow this and go out and do it. And others, you have the likes of John Cena and the Miz there. They're not given scripts. They're just told, well, say whatever the hell you want. And why they're so good on the mic. So I think there has to be an in between. Whereas AEW, I think they've gone down the sink or swim route, where they just send them out. But most people now have gone through the bingo halls and the GAA halls that we have here, and they've had a microphone in their hands. So the sink or swim thing probably isn't as big an issue now as it might have been.
But isn't that the gulf? Isn't that the crux of the situation? Isn't that the difference between these two companies? On one side, you have a company which prizes look over charisma and in-ring ability over overall ability. Like, you've got the fact that they're snapping up kids now, putting them into the performance center and running them through the washer so early.
Not anymore, by the way. That's something I wanted to bring up. I'm glad you brought that up, Jay. Just before you continue, that's something WWE have decided now that they're not doing anymore. This whole performance center thing is apparently something that they're not going to be really doing anymore. They're going to leave that. Apparently, now I don't know how true that is, but there's some validity to some of the sources that I've heard that from, that they basically just want to create a product. And so I don't take that as you.
Well, that's good. That's good, because I'm pretty sure somebody sat down and read the books and realized that 76% of the people we've cut over the last 4 years of mass cuts have all been performance center candidates. They walked in with nothing, and we tried to make them something. And the fact that they didn't have legs to walk on begin with, you need a set. You need to be able to walk on the coin. You need to be fresh. You need to be raw.
Absolutely.
Pro wrestling it's
a crowd it's a reaction based.
Yeah, it's very
sport.
You've got to be raw. It is. It's almost like musicians on stage feeding off the crowd. You've got to be able to flip it and turn it.
It's exactly like that.
In your head.
It's exactly like that.
Like, it's no difference. It's the reason I love it. It's perfect performance. The match is the art, and the art is focal, and it is the reason we're all here. But it's not the art in the match that we sit down to watch and get behind. It's the man with the mouth who does things when other people aren't. It's the man who makes you listen. It's the man who draws you in. Every time that the WWE has a runaway or breakout star, it's going from the likes of a 316 fucking promo. It's somebody who just cuts off the cuff. Well, let me tell you, son, and boom, they slip into who they were when they were 16, getting shit off people in class. They excel at fresh raw, and I think they've been testing the waters and poking at this a little while. Remember when the WrestleMania went on late because of the rain, and then they put the camera and mic in front of a load of their stars, and 2 or 3 men just ran away with it, and it was like, star, and then the rest of them were like, well, like, next. I thought that was a very, very, very raw and insightful view on what the performance center can do. I mean, you can bring a fucking chimp in and train him how to suplex and slam and punch, and he could probably be very adequate, but he's not going to sell t-shirts because he doesn't know how to fucking speak. And projection is performance, and the promo is pro wrestling. It's all of the greats knew how
there's
to
two there's a mix, you know what I mean? It's got to be like, you got to be able to, like, just as you mentioned there, Jay, and I know Joe is going to back me up on this, as you mentioned there, and you're 100% correct in what you said, somebody needs to be able to kind of flip on a dime if they need to, depending on what way the crowd is going. But that's also the same in the ring. So it's all well and good bringing, as you mentioned it, training monkeys to come in and suplex people and blah, blah, blah. But you can't train someone to work. And the real work is in the ring. It's how the people perceive you. You know what I mean? Yeah, and if you're able to kind of take that heat, if you're someone that's not of say strong mind in this business, not strong of mind in general, but strong of mind in this business, and you're not able to kind of flip and kind of just make them go boom straight away. Case in point, WrestleMania 13. You know what I mean? When you do a double whammy, if you're not able to know how to do that within the ring environment.
Yeah. What you're talking about is finesse between the moves. The structure of the move is one thing, but having a little wherewithal to know I've got to
ring psychology. It's basic ring psychology, and basic ring psychology is knowing how to listen to the crowd and go, right, they're pissed off at me here with this. We got it on our first match with Joe and myself, and not just to be a dick and bring it up, but we got it. Like I done the old Jeff Jarrett thing, trying to run out. And I was getting called a bitch and getting called all this. I was like, this is great. They actually want to kill me. They're calling me a bitch properly. But they're going to see me down in the pub afterwards and go, you little bitch. I was like, I have to get back there. You know what I mean? It's ring psychology. You can literally do something, just something, to make one person go. And listen, crowds of people, we see it in the modern world. It's 2021. Monkey see, monkey do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We always say pro wrestling is born between the moves. That's where a pro wrestler is born. Characters are born with the 2.5 seconds between that man coming off the ropes after you fucking threw him and then smashing them. What you do with the crowd, look, raise a fucking eyebrow, crotch fucking chop them, do whatever you need to do in that 2 seconds. But, you know, too many wrestlers are just, it's like they're going through a script, even in the ring. I mean, the wrestling is fine. The quality of wrestling has got very, very, very good. It is across the board, but we're looking for personalities to wow us. That's what draws us in.
But that's what, no, but Jay, that was the point I was going to make beforehand, and that's what I was saying. You were talking about, you know, the promos and stuff, and that's perfect. But your personality begins in the ring, and then you bring your personality from the ring to your promo. That's personally, Joe.
I just want to expand on that slightly, Ian, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I want you to, please.
Look, there's guys. You know, if you look through the years, Jay, I disagreed with this point you made when you were talking about how you won't sell T-shirts if you don't have a good promo. Like, there's plenty of guys that barely said a word that sold plenty of T-shirts and drew plenty of money. You know, Kane is the first one that pops to mind. He barely said a fucking word, and yet sold T-shirts by the bucket load and sold masks. It's, you know, I think, like Ian said, I think ring psychology is far more important, and it's a way to get out. If you can promo, fantastic. If you're the likes of Piper and stuff like that, who was far better on the mic than he ever was in the ring. Not that he was bad in the ring now, but there are more ways than there's more of them one way to skin a cat, and I think ring psychology.
Well, I'll agree with you, Joe. I'll agree with you to an extent. What I believe is, and I believe I said this in the show recently, the product as a whole, the whole promotion, the card from top to bottom, is a jigsaw, and it takes many pieces to make the full picture. And the big silent monster who smashes, who can't talk, we want him as well. There's an aspect of our personal psychology that wants the Jason Voorhees-esque just smash man.
Sure.
There's many different, and then you want your fucking Hoy Lucha who doesn't say a word either. Or, like, there's definitely is, but at the top, always, which gets everybody below and paid, whatever personality type or trope you push as a pro wrestler, is the motherfucker who we pay to listen to. It always is. Like, I mean, there's men who ascend to a point in the company, and they never go any further simply because they can't talk. Now, they might be transitionary champions, and there's nothing wrong with them in the bigger picture. They're needed. They're necessary, because if you've got 15 men who can all talk, everything is too much, and nobody shines. Do you know what I mean? But you do need.
Yeah, but I also think, Jay, you can, for that, like WWE did with Brock Lesnar, you give them a mouthpiece. You know, you don't necessarily have. You know, why do you think Brock Lesnar is a huge draw? It's not just because of his in-ring ability. It's certainly not his fucking promo ability.
It's because he's a monster. You know, because he's a fucking monster.
Yeah, he's a monster, and
he is an exception to the rule. He was a massive draw over in UFC as well, and Heyman wasn't there. He's an oddity. Yeah. He's an outlier. There's certain exceptions to the rule, and they're often, it's the reason he can roll back in and do what he wants when he wants, because he's a fucking freak.
I think a lot of it has to do with Heyman as well, because I think he's just been fantastic for Brock over the years.
Not a question.
I don't think Brock would have had the longevity he's had if he didn't have Heyman.
This is also a discussion we've had recently as well about the importance of managers, and that piece of the puzzle in the picture that WWE have dropped. I mean, if Strowman had a quality manager or a quality reason to be Strowman, he would still have a fucking job. But he didn't. They dropped the ball on him in that respect. But again, you're right. You're not wrong. Nothing you've said is wrong. It's kind of like different facets and aspects of the bigger picture. You know what I mean? But ultimately, letting wrestlers wrestle and letting them develop a personality the way AEW does, they're not stunting or trying to fucking groom or squish people into this quick cookie cutter style. They're letting them be themselves and seeing what sticks. They're throwing all the shit at the wall and saying, look, yeah, no, he's good. I mean, for instance, one of my favorite pro wrestlers right now, WWE dropped the fucking ball on. It was Eli Drake. The guy's magnificent. And the company's regimented form of molding and trying to force people to be what they feel they need them to be. They dropped the fucking ball on him for an awful long time. And now he's come back knocking on the door saying, told you, now can I have a job? You know? Like, it's not always perfect 100% of the time, and there'll always be exceptions to the rule, and the rule will always be there in both companies. But what a joyous time to be a wrestling fan right now, you know?
I think it's, I was happy to just sit and listen to you talk about that, because I agree like with pretty much everything I've heard on both sides of the coin, to be honest with you. Like, for me, ring psychology will always be the thing that gets you there. I think you look at the greatest of all time, and it's Ric Flair, and he's literally Mr. Ring Psychology and the promo. You know what I mean?
Kind of nailed everything. He's your all-rounder.
Yeah, and he's very, very rare. You know what I mean? He's the rarest, so much so that he's the greatest of all time and still has that beautiful big gold belt.
And he's coming back to NWA.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
He's come back to NWA and probably AEW as well, to be fair.
I'm so happy about that, because NWA is the outlier company that I really want to succeed right now. They've entertained me when the other two weren't entertaining me, when the whole sport wasn't entertaining me. I watched 2 or 3 episodes of Power.
They got great feedback last night on their pay-per-view. Obviously, by the time it goes out, it will be. Ronda Rousey said she would have paid double to watch that pay-per-view over and over.
They get wrestling from a fan's perspective.
And you know what's awesome?
Want to be businesses. That place wants to be a wrestling federation.
Wouldn't that be great? Now Ronda Rousey, who's obviously a big CM Punk fan, which means she would fancy me too, which is great. Just saying.
Fancy breaking your arm.
You what?
She fancy breaking your arm.
It's fair though, Jay. Am I wrong?
Fair. I'm not arguing.
Definitely fair. But no, it's quite clear she's a big fan of CM Punk and his wrestling. Obviously, the whole Roddy Piper thing. When you look at CM Punk, you see Roddy Piper. If anyone doesn't, then you PM me, comment on the section below. Yeah.
Go to Specsavers.
Yeah, go to Specsavers. Please, in the comments, let us know what you think we mean by that. It's clear what the likes of CM Punk and all do. Roddy Piper was, for me, and we are going to do a show again when we have with the 4 of us, without a shadow of a doubt, we're going to do a Podmen on Roddy Piper and try and break down the actual genius of the man, if we can. But we are going to do our best to do it, because you're talking about somebody that is absolutely ahead of anybody in the history of pro wrestling, in my opinion, when it comes to that particular type of character and getting over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you see someone like Ronda Rousey, like, appreciating that kind of wrestling, you're going, oh, I would see someone like a Ronda Rousey coming back to wrestle for NWA, going, I want to be a part of that. I want to wrestle the likes of, you know, Chelsea Green or something. You know what I mean? I want to try my hand against real wrestling. You know what I mean?
Who did he have over there? Man, forgive me for
interrupting. Well,
I'm very excited about this. Their whole roster was fucking looted by the other 2 companies during the
great thing about it is, Jay, is that
and if they've still put out if they've still put out a card that's getting praise after their whole roster was looted, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, my boy Tim Storm was on commentary and everything, like, and I'm looking forward to trying to get him back on the show and kind of promote NWA. So, because for me, if NWA's name is on it, Joe knows this. I'm willing to fucking put the whole DPN on it beside it.
Yes, when other companies were putting out drama, they were putting out wrestling. This is awesome.
Yeah, Joe, you would you agree with that? When you see the likes of Ronda Rousey, for example, looking at, and this is the great effect that AEW have had now with the CM Punk effect back. People are going, oh, it's not just one company. There's literally now a case, and this is why WWE, ladies and gentlemen, this is why WWE aren't the big cheese anymore. They can do their Saudi Arabia shows, that's fine. It's no problem. They can go and get the blood money, let them do that. But the thing is, real professional wrestling is now being able to be viewed by yourself, myself, everybody. And it's not just in the two big companies. And the one thing AEW, I think, are doing is that they're letting people know that we're willing to work with all these companies. And I think it's awesome. Joe.
It's fantastic. I spoke to you about this before. I think it's brilliant that AEW are working with Impact. I don't think they're too affiliated with the NWA now.
No, but it's open to. I'd say that would be open. Yeah.
Yeah, but Impact have been working with NWA and the women's division anyway, and they're working with New Japan as well. Impact are in part of that New Japan thing too.
Which if Impact are doing that, then AEW are also doing it. So it's.
I know it's all linked. Like Don Callis is one of the executives at Impact. You know what I mean? And he's overspending a lot of time with Kenny Omega. Like, who do you think brought Kenny Omega over to Impact?
Yeah,
it was Don Callis, and so there's I love all that interworking and interplay that they
me
have.
too.
And as I said to you before, long may continue. I hope it goes on for years and years and years. And then just the odd surprise pop up from New Japan or Impact or whatever.
Like imagine CM Punk putting himself in the Super Junior tournament. Like just I'm gonna go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be absolutely phenomenal. They're like the possibilities are literally endless if they manage to keep all this going. Sure, I think even AAA are part of it too, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
everybody is literally a united clans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, as I said, long may it continue. I hope it goes on for years. And as I said, the possibilities are endless as long as they can keep a good working relationship. They don't start to fall out, which unfortunately could happen. But I hope not, and I hope it keeps going for a
while. Well, instead of looking at the negative, Jay, I'm going to bring this to you, and I know you're going to like this because obviously this is something that Eric Bischoff did, and very well, by the way, back in WCW. He opened himself up to the likes of AAA. He opened himself up to the likes of New Japan, and he brought the likes of Masahiro Chono, and that's where he got the Rey Mysterios and all that. I know Rey Mysterio is obviously working in ECW and all, but he got a lot of the AAA boys over as well. So, but opening
Vader
himself,
from Japan too, didn't he?
You what?
Got Vader from Japan as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, Vader had been working in the 90s as well, but yeah, he mainly got Vader from there. But in fairness, he did actually pick Vader up. You're right, Joe. I'm glad you tested my knowledge there, and I was like, yes, you did.
I was ready to be corrected, by the way.
No, you did. Yeah,
he just put it out there.
just like Stan Hansen, he was Stan Hansen was he was another guy that would be like, fuck you, I'll take your belt and I'll fuck off to Japan, and you're not going to do nothing about it. But Jay, I know you being a massive professional wrestling fan, but also a WWE fan. You're probably looking at this and going, this is where WWE are going wrong, right? Because they are literally, what Tony Khan has done now is he's gone, I'm going to create the world around this. This is the big one, but if we have these affiliates and we can work together in terms of not putting their stars down, but giving their stars a potential job with ourselves, it's a great concept, isn't it?
Look, give me a second. I need to get my tinfoil hat. Right, where were we? Okay.
It looks shiny.
First of all,
like it.
Thank you. I've polished it. It's fresh. It's freshly paranoid. First of all, right, I genuinely think there's a subtle psychology behind the business approaches to every company that's working right now. And again, the only people who benefit are us as the fan. when have we ever been this interested in the goings on behind the fucking locker room and even into the boardroom? One of the first things that gave me made me heart happy. Now, there's a lot of things wrestling does for you as a fan, and if you watch it as just a pure fan and you don't get into the background and behind, you just like your televisions and your episodicals,
the way you should do.
The way, but the likes of us who carry 40 years of fandom into a world of hate and pain, there's a lot of things that stunts our love for this company, and it's the financial aspect behind it. And one of the boons to my love of this second golden age of competition is Khan's appreciation for the companies around him that are the buttresses to his fortress. Like, buying fucking Christian, right? And essentially that's what he did. He put money on the table for Christian, and we all thought he was wasted and squandering on that fucking initial pop and whatever, right? But then giving him to TNA to be a TNA champion.
It's brilliant.
I've so much appreciation for that. The also rans who've always, they've had their highs, they've had their lows, but they're still in the fucking race. They mightn't have too much, distance in front of them, but they were floundering, and there was good people over there doing good work. And then this man says, you know what you need? An international star. Hang on till I buy one. Have your fucking Hulk Hogan back. This man did wonderful things for you in the 80s. He is still my property, and I am not looking to profit off murdering other companies and being number 2 till I'm number 1. What I want to do is have a number 3 and a number 4 company, which has an open door, and I'm actually going to treat my pro wrestlers like independent fucking contractors. I'm going to pay them a wage, and if they want to go over and boost your numbers, well, that's good for me, simply because I know there's another company in the race that I can lean on whenever times are down or whenever you guys are up. And it just seems very communal and wholesome, and just the thing only a fan with money could do, as opposed to a businessman looking for more money. It made me happy. Do you know what I mean? Even Christian saying, well, look, this title is honor and prestige, but we're retiring it. We need to focus more on pro wrestling and the straps and what they mean to each other. It's like a focusing and a narrowing of the business from a global perspective, which can only include other fans. Secondly, any doors open to Japan, I love. To have Japanese wrestlers come over and wrestle in front of us, where we're allowed to watch their style without some fucking white guy going over and spending 10 years over there and then taking their style and bringing it and making it famous over here with his own gimmick. And I'm not opposed to that either. I love the interlacing of global wrestling and seeing these other styles in front of me. I think it's beneficial from a global perspective that we realize and appreciate the North American style died a long time ago, and we should appreciate where global wrestling is going right now. And Khan seems to see that. Even working with Mexico and working with fucking, and I think as well, I think that the seeds have been sown a lot earlier than we realized. The fact that Thunder Rosa brought our ladies NWA championship to fucking AEW and dropped it and lost it. When did we ever get to see this in other companies throughout the history of pro wrestling? It was either you're on this channel and you're on this show with this wages, or you're in this country and we have to wait 2 years before your contract's over till we get to see it. The fact that they can hop on the planes and earn and entertain is fucking glorious for the business. It's what WWE had an opportunity with Daniel Bryan to do this. Look, you're still heirs, but you want to travel and fight other people? Well, go, but do so under the banner of WWE. Wrestle whoever you want. But they were too narrow-minded in their own focus, the way they've done business over the last 40 years, to allow somebody to walk out of their locker room and into somebody else's locker room and show a little communal spirit. And Khan has pounced all over this from a psychological perspective. Allow my stars to travel. Let other worlds have them. Let other countries and other crowds have them. Because when I bring my product to that country as a touring product, if it ever gets there, that company will, or that audience will remember we seen him 2 years ago on that big night where he wrestled their local star. Let's go see this company. It's the building of wrestling as a product, as an enjoyable product.
It's the modern territory aspect.
It's the global territory. I mean? The word territory is done now.
No, but that's what I'm saying. People that have the territory, it's the modern territory aspect.
Yeah, and it's a big huge circle.
Yeah, but I mean, like Kenny Omega is doing it now. You know what I mean? And the fact that he got chopped by Ric Flair, you could see
that's the
in AAA that he got chopped by Ric Flair. He was willing to fucking sell like a motherfucker for Ric Flair with Andrade in AAA.
The one thing I'm annoyed about all the scene, the fact that Tony Khan's view on pro wrestling and what it should be for everybody is going to begrudgingly make me respect Kenny Omega one day, and I can't live with that. So I'm going to put me flag in the sand right now. I'm pulling Hogan on this one. Fuck that guy.
You know what's funny, Jay? If I can change, you can change.
Don't you be hitting me with no fucking Rocky speeches this late into the night.
But me,
I
of
have
all
been
people,
drinking.
me of all people, if I can change,
I can change.
you can change.
And they can change. We all can change.
Oh, can change.
Fuck you. Communism killed Apollo Creed, and some of us remember long. The feud, you know what he also said? If it's alive, I'm alive, ain't it? Yeah, the war's still on as long as he's
But
alive.
communism is happening in 2021 in certain
I've no
elements
problem with
of the world,
communism.
so don't worry about that.
No problem with communism. I have a problem with the death of Apollo Creed. It should never happen. That was supposed to be an exhibition.
That's very true. But the thing is, it's not Kenny Omega's fault. He didn't do it.
I'm not going to like Kenny Omega. I've no time for that.
I think you are.
No. I think that again. This is the bounce. I always speak about how the goal kayfabe is never died, and as much and as smart as we think we are, they keep moving the goalposts on us. And the fact that Kenny's probably a lovely guy. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. What Kenny has done. I'll tell you one thing that
now he's
Kenny
a Kenny Omega fan, Joe. Write this down in the big book.
No, it's already written.
That's been written. It's been written a while now. Right?
Jay,
is he on Rushmore? Segue to old shows, people. Sorry about that.
Don't push me now.
That's a little in joke.
Push me now. Jay, don't you push me, boy. No, I think when I look at someone like Kenny Omega, who I've been getting fucking crucified from, very fucking, good people, including old school wrestlers going, well, Kenny is this, he's okay, he's with this, and blah, 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 blah. The fact is, I look at Kenny and what I've seen is the fact that he's slowed right down. He's slowed right down and he's taken the heel persona on board. Now, I'm with you, Jay. I'm a very big fan of Uncle James and the great Brian Last. I am. But even even Brian Last says it. He's like, Kenny's not the worst. Like, he's okay. I know you hate him because he done that shit. But the thing is,
I know when I'm being worked, and I enjoy it greatly.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, Kenny is slowing down a lot. And that stupid look with that, it actually does suit it. It's not even a stupid look. It actually suits his big head, the whole Lemmy beard. It's like, all right, you've got me on this one now. You've got me on the beard.
I just see him pissing on H, and there's a level to his humor that I'm finding I increasingly enjoy.
I know you are.
Let me hate him. Let me hate him. You know why? Because I like it.
You see, I'm telling you, it's sneaking out.
I'm telling you.
That motherfucker, Kenny Omega, you better be paying me commission, motherfucker. I put you down so many times. Now I'm willing to take money out from it. Go on.
He's wormed his way into our hearts. From like I think at one stage all four of us were like I thought he was a decent wrestler, but never understood the big hype around him.
Well, you loved him for a while based on the New Japan matches that he had.
Yeah, but he's a TNA fan, so let's not talk about his opinions on Kenny Omega.
Yeah, true. Like Joe for a while forgot about psychology, and I was like, I had to smack him in the head and go, remember. And then he was like, yeah, all right, I get you.
Just remember, you're never too old to be worked. And I don't care how smart you are and how smart you get. Con men are con men because that is their fucking business. And the crux and root of this business is to trick, deceive, and fool you into emotions that don't belong in you. And that is pro wrestling.
Joe, come in.
No, Jay's right, but just on the Kenny Omega thing again, I think he's wormed his way into our hearts a small bit. Just as Jay was saying, he's kind of worked us a small bit. He's as you said it, Ian, he slowed down. He started to realize what he needed to do. And I think that has a lot to do with the likes of Don Callis coming on board and probably telling him, here, Kenny, you need to start doing things like this now and all this kind of crack. And he's probably started, opening up his ears and shutting his mouth a bit.
And listening to Jim Cornette podcasts.
Yes.
But, I think he's done that and he's done it really well. I think he's been phenomenal. And he's not afraid to take the pin when he needs to. And, when he dropped the belt there to Christian, that was a genius bit of business for I
Very
think
much
both
so. Very much so.
AEW and Impact. And
Very
I
much
think
so.
Jay made a good point where, AEW were, Khan was like, here, Impact, this guy was a massive star for you guys. Have him back if you want. And I'd say Scott
Such a
D'Amore nearly tore
selfless
his
act.
hand off when he said, yeah. I'd say Scott D'Amore nearly tore his hand off when he said, here, look,
Really?
you want
We can't
Christian to be
afford
your
him.
champion? He was like, yeah, absolutely, we want him to be our champion. Fucking hell, that's massive for us, And so I said it to you, Ian and Ted. I was fucking delighted to see Christian back in the Impact Zone. I was over the moon to see him there again because, as I said, he was a massive, massive star for TNA back in the day. So it's fantastic to see him back there.
It warmed my heart, even from a bigger business perspective. I bought this thing for you. He's called Christian. You might be familiar with him. He sold your T-shirts. I think it was lovely.
No, it is amazing, and I think what's great about it as well is that Christian's taking it on board. I mean, if anyone saw the after show the other night with Christian and CM Punk just hanging out and Frankie Kazarian, it's fantastic. It's about 4 minutes, and CM Punk was like, "If you don't mind me saying, I'm fucking glad to be back," And Christian, and they're just cussing, and AEW shared it, and the boys are just having the time of their life. And isn't it amazing to see the boys have the time of their life with the fans after the show, letting them know, yeah, Shawn Michaels and all these fucking chumps done this for us, so it's not our fault. We're gonna fucking have fun with you guys. And it's amazing. Like I struggle to see what WWE to really counter this, because
Whatever
we're gonna bring
want.
you into the next segment here before we finish up. We were all very, very very hopeful for the whole Finn Balor thing, and now I'm not so hopeful because he challenges Roman Reigns on SmackDown next week, and it's going to be, again, it's the Vince McMahon thing. Well, we don't have anything for you. I think the fans really would have appreciated more what we said. Finn Balor coming out, fucking ruining it on one of them, and it would have been like, what the fuck just happened? Instead of like Brock coming out with like a coconut on his head or whatever it was on his head. And no offense, Brock, I love you.
He was looking great, by the way, even under that T-shirt.
He looked awesome.
Cutting his silhouette. He has a body on him that he hasn't had in a long time. Simply because
but listen, he's a fucking
cups.
He's a Viking.
He's on that Legends diet.
It's like what was it? Joe Rogan said on a podcast one time. Every 100,000 millennia, a mother shoots a Viking out of her pussy, and it's in the form of Brock Lesnar. That doesn't happen every week. But no, I fear for the likes of Finn Balor now. And if you're a Finn Balor now who's 40, right, and you're going, my contract, I don't have much left on it. I'm looking at what the other guys are doing over there, and if Finn Balor looking at what's going on over there with all of his friends, by the way, because don't forget, Adam Cole now is pretty much on the way. It's like, what did WWE?
Anderson is there too.
Yeah,
he's
Carl
really
Anderson.
good friends with Carl Anderson.
Oh man, they are tight as fuck. So it's like, what did WWE expect? Do they just want to create Miz's all the time and robotic? It's like Jim Cornette said.
That's unfair.
No, it's not really though. But like, because that's what they're creating.
Like looking for a Big Mac and Burger King.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know. I'm if I'm AJ Styles, for example, like, I'm just in a tag team with this big basketball guy the whole time, even though it's a great kind of thing, I'm like, do I want to go over there and actually enjoy my wrestling and enjoy my craft? All I'm saying is I think WWE are leaving themselves open to a lot more of this. Would you agree or disagree?
Well, I'm going to come in on this one, right? Like Please I said, it's like looking for a Big Mac in Burger King. You're not going to get it. This company has been around for the last 40 fucking years and has created every opportunity for other companies to arise in the last 20 years. Now, I feel two perspectives. One, I've seen a lot of leaning down of their roster. And two, I've seen a lot of progressive storytelling, which I feel is going to come into play over the next 2 or 3 years. This company is the company that created long-term storytelling, because before them, there was
a long time ago, though.
Yeah, but Ian, look. All of the information is out there, and you discern from it what you will. I mean, Shinsuke is still in the mix, even though he hasn't been the champ.
Well,
I mean,
Jay, I'm gonna cut you off for 1 second. I'm gonna ask you to please specify on what you mean. The company that created long-term storytelling, because like before WWE, long-term storytelling was done over years.
And
So
we've got back there.
So we can say that WWE have done this and done that. But what you mentioned earlier, which I thought was very, very apropos. You were waiting on that one, weren't you?
I still haven't learned to use that word properly. So
apropos.
I don't know. I understand its meaning, but it's much like idiom. I don't know what it means.
Yeah, it's very apropos in the sense that, and it was the perfect, term for what you said earlier. Like WWE basically went in and done this to other companies, destroyed the territories and all that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's good or a bad thing.
No, it had to happen for wrestling to move on into a global
Exactly. I'm not saying
space.
that's not the discussion that we're having. But obviously now today in 2021, it's evolving that now AEW are going, okay, and I will tell you here now, straight up, anyone that thinks Tony Khan has just thrown money at these people are very, very foolish and naive. He's given them opportunities and probably shot deals. Do you know what I mean? CM Punk, without a shadow of a doubt, was on a big contract. Chris Jericho, without a shadow of a doubt, was on a big contract. Cody Rhodes, without a shadow of a doubt, was on a big contract. Guarantee you the boys underneath that are not on huge contracts. They're on shot deals. That's why they're able to go out and work in the independents. They're able to work in
the actual independent contractors.
Exactly. So he's giving them that. So he's actually saving money with this. You know what I mean? But also creating an opportunity for people to actually step up and go, right, if you're worth it, you get it. If you're not, well, keep going and come back to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the point that you were making there about WWE, kind of the long form storytelling, like tell me the last time you've seen a long form story being told in WWE. Well, you can't remember one.
I can tell you several. I can tell you every man who deserves better and hasn't got it over the last 6 or 7 years. I can tell you the names, the likes of Cesaro, the likes of fucking, even if you want to include Reigns and his.
No, but I'm asking like the storyline, as in like.
But the story is now not what they're walking in wearing and saying. The story is now what he is doing with their careers.
But then he destroys them again. Like,
has he? They're still on our TV and we're still talking.
Well, Cesaro, I don't hear anyone talking about Cesaro. To be honest.
Listen, the guy's a great wrestler. He deserves more. And yes. I honestly believe at some stage he will wear big gold. And the teasing of him getting to that level is a long-term story in itself. Why hasn't he got it yet? Why is it another year? Why is it another year? Why is it another year? The man management of careers to a level where they meet our expectations as fans of them as pro wrestlers is storytelling.
Yeah.
The holding back on a man. Like, I mean, the Yes Movement was created by the company simply because they wouldn't give the fans what they wanted for so fucking long.
Well, it wasn't created by the company. It was created by the fan reaction. And one man didn't listen to it.
A manipulation of circumstance to an end game is storytelling.
That's giving WWE credit for what CM Punk done.
What the fans want. Yes, I'm not giving it to them.
No, that is exactly what Vince is now. When you look at it.
But is that
Joe, I'm going to bring you in on this.
Is that not in itself psychology?
Well, no, because that's actually a fucking old buffoon not listening to the crowd and go, no, I'm going to give you fucking the lad that we had back in 2002 on the cover of SmackDown. Joe?
Yeah, look, I think the old buffoon thing, threw me a bit. I thought that was very funny.
sorry. It was just...
no, it's all right. No, I thought it was brilliant. It's just, you're crediting some old buffoon for something.
No,
I know where you're coming from, Ian. Basically, Vince is getting it wrong all the time.
It's the imaginary brass ring that CM Punk talks about.
Yes, the brass ring Vince set up above them.
That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist unless you have nipples as solid as rocks and fucking veins coming out of those nipples. You know what I mean?
We'll let Joe talk. Sorry, we're going to need somebody between us.
Sorry, I love you, Jay.
No, that's not a problem, man. No, just look, Vince McMahon has dropped the ball more than once. We all know that. You know what
Yes.
I mean? Like, as Ian said, he dropped it with CM Punk, but CM Punk was just too popular that it happened anyway. Same with Daniel Bryan. He dropped the ball with him, but he was so popular it got over anyway. But you look at other ones, like the big one for me was Rusev Day. Like that was fucking massive. And Shane McMahon even acknowledged it one time and said, "Oh, we hear you." And then they did nothing with it. And that was huge. He was outselling everybody at the
Well,
time.
Shane and H would acknowledge that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't do anything. But I think they were about to drop the ball with Becky Lynch, except Nia Jackson killed her, and she turned around on herself.
Yeah, and she had a bloody nose and went like that and done the Stone Cold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She turned around, but it was her that turned around. No, it wasn't the WWE. Like,
no, it was her.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a lot of these. I think WWE dropped the ball a lot, and it just happens to be that sometimes the wrestlers just good enough to kind of pull it back to themselves.
Show me.
Yeah, but sometimes, you do have to give people an opportunity too.
Yeah, I don't think it's Vince. Vince isn't telling them to go out and show me. You know what I mean?
But the interesting aspect of the business is, one, AEW depends on its fans to still be a business. But on the other side of the coin, WWE earns its money off networks now. It's solidified. The fans are important.
But that could also be taken away. Jay, I'm actually glad you said that. Jim Cornette said it too. Those contracts with networks can be taken away like that easily.
Yeah, but look at the man's business history over the last 40 years. Do you see him going anywhere?
No, I don't. But I also know that they're in competition now with someone that could buy their company that is worth more. That their owner, not Tony Khan, his dad. Now, Tony Khan, in fairness, is a viable businessman, his own word. They could actually buy WWE if they wanted to. That's how rich these people are.
It doesn't necessarily make it a good thing. I mean,
I'm not saying that.
The captain of the ship steers it through battle, right?
I'm not saying that, by the way. I'm not. And by the way, I just wanted to say that beforehand, Jay. Go ahead. I just wanted to say, I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying that they're not dealing with it. Like the money isn't coming from the network. That's all.
And what I'm going to say is, history repeats itself. Everything we see going forward in the future, we've seen in the past. And to sleep on Vinnie Mac because he's signed 2 or 3, or because his opposition signed 2 or 3 fucking men who both worked hard for him.
They're not just 3 men, though, Jay. They're big. They're the biggest fucking free signing in the history of professional wrestling.
Well, then let me caveat back to what I just said. History repeats itself. Hogan, Macho, Razor, and fucking Diesel jump ship. What does the man do? Cuts his budget, leans down, digs in, gets ready for war, and goes forward with a product that we still have today, that we're talking about being a rival to an opposite company, which is doing an awful lot of the same things the other company did. I mean, sometimes work hard or work smart. Whether we want to admit it or not, the old buffoon is the only reason we're still talking about pro wrestling as a
But the problem is, the only working smart that I'm seeing at the moment is from the opposition.
But that's because what you're doing is looking right now in this segment of history that we have presently, which is the last 3 years and the next 3 years. Now look at it.
Are you telling me that Vince? You telling me that like near 80-year-old Vince has the capability of going?
What I'm telling you is, I'm
really?
not willing to shit on a man that's proved me wrong continually from the get-go.
But he's also a man that's had 9 lives as well.
Yeah, and he has 9 more in front of him.
I don't believe so. I mean, he's fucking pretty much at death's door.
How often have people who sit around talking about wrestling like us right now said that about him?
Well, I mean, because Father Time is catching up. Like he's
going to die. Listen, business ain't going to keep him alive forever. He's not a vampire.
Listen, if Triple H turns up on fucking Dynamite next week, Jay, he's gonna be. I'm done with him too. I'm done.
That would be great, you know.
Think about it.
Especially after Cody smashing up that chair.
Well, think about it. All I'm saying is, right,
you'll have nowhere to sit.
I'm actually going to bring Joe in here because I want to ask him something. Joe, And Jay, I appreciate, because I love WWE as much as the next person. I'm
Yeah,
just
listen, you don't have to apologize.
Yeah.
Debate
I'm
is
trying-
anger and rage, and we
Exactly.
deserve what's happening at AEW right now as
I
wrestling
am
fans.
trying to play devil's advocate on this one with WWE and the product, with the product that they're presenting. Rightly so.
Did you not enjoy SummerSlam?
I did, actually, very much so.
So did I.
So
did I.
yeah, I thought it was a great card all the way through. I thought the matches were absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought it was presented beautifully. I do also think that myself and Joe were talking about it. I do think that we should have had some Finn Balor in it instead of getting like
That's
2 weeks
coming.
later
That's
going.
coming.
No, I don't think so. I think you're going to see Finn Balor being the smiley
we often say
babyface.
this. I don't believe so, Ian. I believe he's done the job for NXT downstairs, and now he's come upstairs, and all we have to do is wait 6 months, 6 to 18 months to see what he's capable
He's been
of.
waiting 4 years.
Yeah, he has. And then you tell me there's no long-term storytelling. We've been waiting on 4 years for the Balor pop, and there's no.
What do you
long-term
reckon on that,
storytelling.
Joe? Then
4 years.
no, that's fair enough. That's a good way. Fair enough. And to be honest with you, Jay, listen, I call him Coach. Love the man. So if what you're saying is
I call
true,
him the
I'm
best in the
happy.
world right now in any company, regardless.
Well, he is the best in the world. Has been
Yes.
since day
For
one.
the last 20 years, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, what you reckon?
I think Jay is incredibly optimistic and always has been.
Optimistic.
42-year-old man sitting drinking whiskey beside 2 fucking pro wrestling belts. Optimistic. I love what I love, and will be buried loving it.
Do you know what, Jay? It's only Coca-Cola. Well, it's not really. There you go. I get a beer.
Proclamation whiskey, by the way, boys. I bought a new whiskey to sit and talk with you tonight, and I'm very happy about it. It's delicious.
I love it.
Yeah.
So back to what I was saying. I think Jay is incredibly optimistic, and
often right.
I'm with Ian. I think Finn Balor he's going to be a nearly man for WWE, and I think that's about it. I just look at what they've done with Karrion Kross, and you just say to yourself, "What the fuck?" You know, another ball they've dropped in a big way. I think, where they've now put that.
I'm not going to give a fuck about that guy until he explains to me why I should give a fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that'll take 5 years.
But if you bury him on your first night on
storytelling.
If you bury him on your first night on your show, Jay, why should you care about him? I mean, like the Warrior, for example, right? The Warrior, when he came out in old programming, he's a perfect example, because I mean, he's the most colorful, most exciting pro wrestler of all time when you think about it. Someone that came out going, fucking right, he's gonna kill you. Whoever you are in that ring, you're gonna die now, because this lad is coming out to kill you. And
you're my boy, Honky.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't.
What Joe was saying there, he's 100% right. Like, how can I care about you if you fuck him up on the first night? Like, what? Come on, you're meant to be the NXT guy. This is a battle. This is a battle between Triple H and Vince McMahon. And it's transitioning now to TV.
It is most certainly the way it has been presented.
Yeah.
Which is also an aspect of kayfabe and the real world locker room drama, as opposed to the pro wrestling aspect.
But this isn't kayfabe. Sometimes real life happens too.
Is that not the con? Is that not the
No, point? Because it can't be a con forever. The real con is that, like, they're now looking at AEW and going, shit. They've got the guy that we fucking wanted, but we hate him as well. Because obviously H and Vince hate CM Punk. They always have. And it was the guy that, fucking told them that what they were doing was wrong. And what Joe was saying is that if you bring someone like a Karrion Kross up, right, who is your fucking NXT champion, he's just destroyed Finn Balor, he's destroyed everyone else, and then you bring him up, and then you destroy him.
Well, let me ask you something.
How can I care about you?
Let me ask you something.
Nothing?
Let me ask you something, right?
Yeah.
How long has Karrion Kross been on TV in his career?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't it?
No.
It has to matter. If I ask how long in a conversation about long-term storytelling.
All right, well, Joe's been watching him a lot.
Like,
Joe, what you reckon? Maybe the last this has been, a year build-up, I'd imagine, that he's been kind of on WWE TV?
A cup of coffee?
With WWE, is it, Jay, or just in general? How long has he been?
In general.
He's been around a long time, and he was on Lucha Underground for a while. He was with Impact for a couple of years.
Okay, now how long has it been on WWE TV?
He's been with NXT, I don't know, a year at least.
Year and a half, I'd say, maybe a
But
year.
like-
Maybe an espresso.
but-
That's not even a full cup of coffee.
Yeah, but Jay, as Ian said, Jay, like they put Karrion Kross up against Balor and he murdered him.
Yeah.
He absolutely murdered Balor. And
Yeah.
then he
Because,
goes
you know,
up
for
to-
me, from a
goes up to-
psychology
he goes up-
perspective,
goes up to the next tier and gets beaten on his first
he gets the
night.
Keith Lee
It's
treatment.
no way to build a guy.
No, it isn't. He gets the Keith Lee treatment.
Well, you know what I
That's
get to, you know what I get to see on SummerSlam. You know what I get to see on SummerSlam, and this is gonna take your Vince McMahon love in and kind of flip it upside down.
I'm all right with Vince.
We get to see Miz and Morrison. We get to see Miz and Morrison and one of the New Days fight over a fucking super soaker.
I don't give a fuck what they're fighting for once they wrestle.
No, but this is before the main event.
They get me fighting for
had
a
a
fucking
super
CM
soaker
Punk
fight.
ice cream. I'd still watch it.
No, but the difference with CM Punk is when he gets in and he talks, it's fucking real. I'm going to change the game. We get to see Miz and Morrison stand there and go, oh, here's a super soaker. And like,
It is real. He's an excellent worker.
Who?
CM Punk.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
They're real to him, don't they?
Exactly. You know, and it's still real to all of us. And I know I know what you're
Look,
saying is right, Jay. I know you're not you're playing devil's advocate, and I understand that. I completely understand that. And but what Joe was saying is 100% correct. Everything that Triple H built now in NXT has just been taken down. And I say Triple H is fucking fuming. Like this is gone.
I think he's in on that. I think he's a
Ah,
career
well, you
worker
see-
and he's in on it. I mean, I haven't taken my tinfoil hat off in a while. But
Yeah, you
listen,
need to take that off now. Yeah,
do
now you're back.
Do I? It's what helps
No,
me believe.
Jay, do you really like? Yeah, but do you really think that like down in NXT? Like, down, I don't like saying that down in NXT.
Yeah,
But
in
like,
NXT.
in NXT,
Across
in
in
NXT.
NXT.
Yeah, in NXT, you see Triple H and the guys down there, and they build people up. Like Asuka always comes to mind. Yeah, like they spent a lot of time building her up and making her awesome, and then Vinnie Mac crushes her at her first Mania. It's like, what the fuck? Like that's not, to me, that's not long-term storytelling. That's just being a twat, personally. Like, and as I said, it's just happened now with Cross, where he was built up to be this monster, and he comes out and he loses on his first night. And it's, for fuck's sake.
Can I ask you a
To me,
question?
that's not long-term,
Can I
that's
ask you-
bullshit. As Ian said, how can you get behind someone that just loses and straight away when they come in? Makes no sense to me anyway.
Can I ask you a question? How do you get somebody over past where they should be in the business?
Not making them lose on their first night.
Right? There's also another way of looking at that. If you tease a crowd long enough for what they want, sooner or later they become rabid for what you have and have the ability to give them. And when you do give them finally what they want, the payoff is astronomical. Now,
No,
if you
what you're saying
Am I wrong?
theoretically, is 100% correct. Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt, Jay, you're spot on. However,
However,
the crowd that were in Monday Night Raw, for example, on what Joe was talking about, they weren't expecting Karrion Kross to come up there. They were going, "Oh shit, here he is." I was like, "Oh shit, how could I care about you if you've just lost to one of the bums?" Do you know what I mean? That's not long story. That's not long term storytelling.
but
Now, what
Karrion Kross is only in that company a wet week.
Forget about that, Jay. He was dominant
Also,
in
I'm not
NXT.
I'm not too over on him. To be fair.
Exactly. Well, and that's fine.
Honest.
I'm not a big fan of Karrion Kross either, but at the same time,
And I don't expect the red carpet to be rolled out from just because he mills fucking.
no. But say for someone like a Finn Balor,
Show
right?
me, earn me.
Well, let's talk about a Finn Balor then, right? The first
Yeah.
NXT champion, right? And the best, again, the best wrestler on planet Earth
On planet Earth.
in pretty much all of our opinions.
Yes.
You bring him up, you know that it's not going to be done against Roman Reigns in one day. Fair enough. You put him in a program against what's his name, Baron Corbin. Fine. okay, maybe there is a little bit of long-term storytelling, but I guarantee you next week what's going to happen is he gets smashed and then he ends up going with the boys. Fair enough, maybe if they have plans for Balor, I don't know. But the point that I'm making based on Joe's point is that how can you really care about people coming up from NXT? Like Balor, in fairness, has established himself. So we'll put, you're probably right on that one. We'll put a little flag in that one and put a pin in it, and we'll come back to that, and hopefully, we prove wrong, or hopefully one of our own gets what he deserves. But the point that Joe was making is 100% right about someone like a Karrion Kross. Like, he destroyed Pete Dunne, he destroyed Finn Balor, like boys that they're trying to build up, but build up for what? Because you've got the guy that hates just going, right, here we go, Vince, he's your boy. He's the size you want. He's not my type.
Yeah.
Boom. It's like, what? He's not Miz enough for you? Like, I'm sorry.
It only happened a couple of fucking weeks ago, like.
Because, like, Miz, when I look at Miz wrestling some of these pro wrestlers and, like, he wins against some of these guys, you're like, fuck, I'm sorry. I know Miz is great.
Why he wins? Do you know why he wins? Because he ate shit for 10 years, does his job, keeps his head down, chin to chest, and does what's asked of him.
I understand.
He is a loyal student of what Vince McMahon perceives.
So Vince literally wants ass ticklers there. Yeah. So
listen. No, the perception of the belt being the end game and the ultimate reward is horseshit. If I was to compare somebody like Finn to another wrestler, the only man I could think of with his WWE run that I could think of comparing him to is possibly one of my favorite in the world. Ravishing Rick Rude. Belts are tokens handed out to people who do the business from one perspective. Long-term lifers who do the business not for belts are fucking lifers, and who also get chewed through the loop and shot on, and whatever the perception of the fans' idea of pro wrestling is. You don't need ant around your waist to be great. Some men do without belts, and that's good for business. You need the best in the world not to have to expect the belt. And from a fan perspective, sometimes the odd trinket is thrown, and the odd fucking look. I could run off a list of names right now of men who had belts around their waist that didn't deserve them long term.
I disagree with everything you're saying there, and I'll tell you why. Back in the day, no.
What did Rick Rude wear in the? What did Rick wear in the WWF?
This is what I was going to say to you. I did, and what you're saying is not wrong. Theoretically, you are correct.
And factually.
Theoretically and factually, you're correct. However, today, in this day and age, we don't have Rick Rudes. We don't have Mr. Perfect.
We've loads of them.
Sure. Tell me what.
Entertain every time. Dolph Ziggler, every time he gets in the ring, I watch that man work.
Bollocks.
No. Bollocks.
Okay.
Finn Balor wears nothing of importance in that company right now. He's still a match.
He wears a leather jacket.
I've got three of them hanging up that I don't wear.
What I'm saying to you is, hang on, let me respond to what you were saying first. What I'm saying is, the likes, right, Dolph Ziggler. I'm not a fan of Dolph Ziggler. I think he's a Shawn Michaels wannabe. That's just my personal opinion. Yeah, he's okay. I still think Seth Rollins and people like Finn Balor are better than him.
They are, and Seth's another one. There's around his waist this last few years.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, believe it or not, belts do matter to some of these guys. The problem is
90% of the fans.
The problem is
ones who want everybody to wear one.
And I think what you're saying is right. Like, I think they could have done this, and Joe and myself talked about this. Joe, we had to bring you in on this now in a second. We talked about this earlier on. They tried, and they did it with ECW when they had that ECW show. You know what I mean? Keeping it completely separate, as a completely separate show for fans, and fans were watching it. But having the people that fucking watch, it was the same that they could have done it with WCW. You know what I mean? They could have had Bischoff involved in it. They could have had Shane involved in it. They could have had fucking people completely separate where Vince could just go, grand. What's their numbers? Boom. The point I'm making is that Rick Rude, you mentioned Rick Rude, and, I'm sure you were about to mention Mr. Perfect, right? people, I refuse to hear people like The Miz or any of those sort of names, or even Dolph, in that same sentence, because these guys are completely different. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that Dolph isn't, a great professional wrestler. He is, but like Rick Rude it was a different time, completely different circumstances, and I just think
He was a lifer who wrestled well and never needed a belt.
exactly no, but he did need a belt because in WWE he didn't. In WCW, he went and became a world champion on a number of occasions.
Yeah, because the standards are different.
And was Wrestler of the Year in 1993, according to Pro Wrestling Illustrated. You know what I mean? So these are different people. And again, I want to stress, I think Dolph Ziggler is fucking awesome. I just don't
so
think.
is Johnny Morrison, but he ain't never going to be fucking world heavyweight champion of the world.
But these guys don't need belts purely because they've made they've made a circus of their show. It used to be a pro wrestling show. Now they've made it like it's a sitcom almost at times, but a really bad.
I don't watch the weeklies. I watch the PPVs.
But Joe would agree.
I recommend anybody who loves wrestling.
Yeah, but Joe, would you agree with me? It's like a bad sitcom. If you had 3 hours of pro wrestling, like the way we used to watch Nitros, and I used to show you Nitros, and it was just purely pro wrestling with a little bit of incident in between. That was pro wrestling. You know what I mean? Now it's like, oh, I'm going to get you on a super soaker.
Yeah, but like another thing I think personally now is what on a point that Jay made, but you don't have to wear a belt to be relevant, and you don't, but you need but you need a rivalry that's relevant.
Yes,
and like I don't think there's anything of note in WWE to talk about except in the title pictures. I'm willing to be corrected on that now.
No, I think you're right.
I don't watch much WWE.
Well,
you look at one of Rick Rude's biggest storylines was him and Jake Roberts. No, there was no belt involved.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of the big. It was huge at the time.
Yeah.
Because didn't he spray paint Roberts' wife on his pants?
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You just need a big rivalry over anything. It could be just some kind of small grudge.
Let the art of storytelling thrive. Yeah.
But I think that's an art that's dead in WWE. I think if you're not in the top tier, you're just kind of, told, you're just cannon fodder.
You get sprayed with fucking water.
No, man, no, I will caveat what I said in this whole conversation is, as a fan, I don't bother with the weeklies. I don't have 3 hours of my life to waste on fucking 2.5 hours of fucking blah, 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 and a little bit of match. I only watch the PPVs. I only watch pay-per-views. And I set some time aside to do that as an adult in an adult's life. And I still love what I watch. I mean, at the end of the day, we must let the art of wrestling thrive. Look, championships are important. Storytelling, you're right, it has fallen along the wayside compared to what we were raised, but there was very little options for us when we were raised watching this stuff. But I'm seeing something come on back that I haven't seen in a long while. And even in this last year of us sitting down talking with my fucking lockdown family right here, even these discussions have been educating me weekly. And what I've gathered and what I understand and what I realize is just again as a fishbowl conversation between 4 men who are sitting talking and oblivious to anybody else watching. There's times when the water is murky and there's times when the water is clean. And this last 2 or 3 weeks have proven to me I am blind to outside WWE simply because that was the only fucking water source in the cage. And what I'm seeing growing right now is beautiful and brilliant. And it even travels back to people who love their sport and took it outside the business and the structures and confines of the business and brought it somewhere else, like the likes of this global Bullet Club, international floating federation and little rivalries using kind of social media to perpetuate rivalries. Kayfabe is alive and well, and wrestling is fucking thriving right now. And we might nitpick at what we see from company to company, but ultimately it comes down to one thing: our perception on what we're seeing is the growth and what we've been missing. And what we've been missing is growing. and sorry, forgive me. I segued a tangent. I don't even know where I was. I love wrestling again. That's where I am.
That's the main thing. That's the main thing, right?
Yeah, no, and like I said, listening to you, man, educating me from your perspective makes me appreciate and realize what I see from my product is not necessarily what everybody else sees. And
Well,
that's why
listen, Jay, we're
I
not
keep the
educating you
tinfoil
either.
hat.
We're
Oh, no, you
we're-
are weekly. You are. And when I go back and watch a show and I see what you said to me, I'm like, yeah, them boys are right, but I'm never ever going to admit that.
Yeah, I do the exact same thing when you're talking as well.
No,
What,
you don't,
turn on
Joe. Shut
wrestling
the
and
fuck
don't
up,
listen?
Joe, you lawyer.
I
Joe,
hear
you
Jay, but
liar.
I
I'm
wish
gonna
I was
shave
watching
my
the
head
beef.
now. We're going back to wrestling.
No, you know what? I have to say this as well. What has happened between the companies over the last little while, I'm so excited for anybody 18 looking to lace up the boots. I'm so excited for what's going to happen 20 years down the pike when long-term storytelling from a reality perspective comes true. What we're at the cusp of right now is so exciting that it's going to launch 1,000 million new wrestling fans, and to see our sport progress and go the way it has the last, even just the last 2 months. Imagine that. 10 years of desolation and 2 months of excitement. Jesus Christ.
Believe it or not, CM
Punk
Punk coming back to professional wrestling has actually helped the actual professional wrestling side of it, because he
Can
will.
I ask you, sorry, forgive me.
Go ahead.
For interrupting on your CM love-in.
It's not
Do
a
you think
love-in.
wow, okay. Do you think it was good or bad him kind of pre-popping Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson in that promo? That was the one thing I didn't like about it. I think he should have kept his mouth shut and allowed that second pop coming after him.
Didn't like it.
Weeks later.
Didn't like
it. I think he should have kept his mouth shut.
Didn't like it.
Didn't like him doing that.
No.
I'm like, why wouldn't you let me be excited when it happens? Why do I have to be pre-warned? You know what I mean?
But would you guess that was instructions?
No, I think he ran his mouth because he didn't want anybody else to have thunder.
He's a bit of an Ian Kelly, isn't he?
No comment.
I'll throw my fucking stuff on.
Hold on. No comment.
Go on. Say what you want to say, you fucker.
None, not at all, not even a little bit. I just felt it left after I watched this promo. It left a bad taste in me. I'm like, why are you popping somebody who didn't get his own pop?
To be fair though, the two of them,
I
I hear the two of them are like that, so I don't know whether it was
probably,
you know. Yeah, but I agree with you.
They both found their wives in the locker room.
Yeah, that's true. And AJ Mendez looks to be a very happy woman these days, doesn't she? So.
Well, she's thriving. She's creatively thriving. She's earning more money than her husband. That's probably why he was giving out free ice creams.
Well, I doubt that. In fairness, he's pretty fucking loaded.
That was a joke.
No, I think it's awesome. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's great. We're going to see Daniel Bryan. I mean, good Lord, the potential, lads. Let's end on this, right? WWE, and we're going to give WWE the fair due as well. The potential of seeing a proper Finn Balor, Roman Reigns match again is there. You know what I mean? Depending on what way they do this. If they make it that Finn Balor joins, the family, which a lot of people are predicting, I don't see the sense of it, but I like it if it means
Finn's
that
rise
he's
is
involved.
coming. Trust me.
Yeah.
Hold the line.
So if he's there and he's kind of going, all right, I'm willing to fucking work with Reigns here, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. With the likes of, John Cena, The Rock coming back at WrestleMania, because we know that's going to happen. It's got to be The Rock and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. That's what they have to do, because they haven't built up any viable stars. We're going to get the same thing with, Drew McIntyre, and don't get me wrong, I love Drew. Love him.
He's already built. So is Randy. They have plenty of sleeper stars.
They do, but at the same time, this is what they think. They that they want The Rock. They want the big fucking star. That's what they want.
The world wants The Rock.
Yeah, of course. I want The Rock, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah.
Back at, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that. Like, I want The Rock. I want to see The Rock wrestling.
Your nana wants The Rock. We all want The Rock.
Of course, we all want The Rock. He's a sexy beast. And if anyone that tells you you don't, you're lying. But I think what AEW have done now is created a beautiful, beautiful little situation for themselves. And Jay, you've mentioned it a number of times throughout this show that Tony Khan, what he has done has been nothing short of excellent. Through all the criticisms I've given him as well, and we all have collectively, but especially me, I'll hold my hands up. This is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. You know, it was like, I need to trust you as the guy, and guess what? He's the guy, without a shadow of a doubt. He's the guy, and fair play to him. What he done was absolutely phenomenal. And what he's done is also created now a kind of a system. He's created a kind of a rule within the system and saying, right, all you Joey Janela's and all these guys, you know, all these kind of indie, well, I won't even say indie because a lot of great indie wrestlers out there, but the likes of Joey Janela, who came from that kind of backyard stuff and all. I'm not even going to be rude to him either. It's like, you need to step up your game. If you want to get TV time, you got to really step up and show us what you've got. You know what I mean?
Sink or swim, brass ring grab.
Exactly. Joe, what you reckon?
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I think he wants to make wrestling legitimate. I think he dropped that broken Matt Hardy thing like a fucking hot spud.
Didn't he?
And he just like, no, don't like this. And I think he even gave out about the teleporting thing. He was like, what the fuck did we do that for?
And that was Jericho's fucking idea. He was like, no.
Yeah, no, he's I think he wants to make it more legitimate. And, you know, as you said, the likes of Joey Janela that got famous from being thrown off the roof of a building. Like, he's, as you said, he's told them, you know, if you're not going to be a good wrestler or a good talker, forget it. You're out the door. We're not doing this mad shit now. It's I want to make it a more legit sport. And you know, you have to, as I said about where CM Punk came in, and it looks like he's going to have to earn his way up to the title, which I think is fantastic. And as you said, Ian, if they want TV time, you've got to earn it. You've got to show that you can do it in the ring and not do it through trying to half kill yourself on TV. And that's not happening anymore. And I think it's brilliant. I think it's fantastic. And Bray Wyatt can't go to AEW if that with that being Khan's attitude, and because he won't flourish there. He'll die because it's not his scene.
Wasn't always his fault, in fairness, with Bray Wyatt. I'm gonna give
no. Like, you know, his whole thing about his whole creativeness is quite wacky.
Yeah.
And I don't think Khan's going to stand for it. I think he's going to go, no, you're not doing that here.
I think Khan is starting to get it. I think Khan is starting to get it.
Yeah, Roy will return as a rotunda. He'll return as pro wrestling pedigree. He will return a leaner beast who pro wrestles in the ring if he goes there.
I don't think he's going to go there. I think he might go somewhere like Impact where they'll embrace the
maybe Japan
more.
I think you're right. I
know Japan isn't big into that either. I think they're more.
But do you not think he wants to go back and actually get his pro wrestling album?
I don't think so. The best part of Bray Wyatt is his gimmick. You know, let's be honest here. It's always been the best part of his thing is his gimmick. His promos are fucking phenomenal. And now, unfortunately, WWE, he always lost every bloody feud he was in. But
that's true.
Yeah, so I think personally think he'd be brilliant in Impact, where they embrace that wackiness a bit more, and you get away with more there. Whereas in AEW, I think Khan will just be like, nah, if you're not going to go out and wrestle, you can piss off.
Would you? I'm glad you said that, Joe. Because in fairness, again, I hold my hands up. Always hold my hands up. You know, on this show, I am Mr. Old School Pro Wrestling. I like bell to bell. You know what I mean? I like the rules being followed. I like everything, you know, I like that catch as catch can style. Let the rules be followed. Do you think that's what we're starting to see with Tony Khan?
That's what mean, yeah, I think he wants to legitimize pro wrestling. Now the hardcore element will be there, but that's quite legit at times when the feud warrants it. But I think he's trying to legitimize it as a sport again on a big stage.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's trying to do. And so that, as I said, as the broken Matt Hardy thing disappeared really quickly, and I think Bray Wyatt just would not fit in there at all.
Do you know what I'm liking looking at you, Joe? As a man that knows you very, very well, I'm kind of smiling here because I can see the excitement in your eyes.
Look,
am I wrong?
No. Jay said it. He goes, "It's fantastic. It's a fantastic time to be a wrestling fan again." As he said, we had 10 years of, of just, not fantastic wrestling, and WWE just going by the numbers, really, and Impact were down in the fucking doldrums, doing fuck all.
Yeah.
And so it's great to see it all lifting up again and taking off. As I said, there's endless possibilities of what AEW are doing with all these other promotions, and it's just exciting, really, really exciting. And WWE just have to lift their game to keep up.
And that's it. I'm going to bring you in, Jay, to finish us off on the show. Exciting, like we just said, exciting times for professional wrestling. From your perspective, how excited are you? I mean, I know that we haven't been excited as a collective group for a long time. We've been trying to hope for the best. I think we're in a point now where Jesus H. Christ, it's just been gifted
Jesus,
to us.
Triple H Christ.
Yeah, Triple H Christ, yeah.
Jesus, Triple H Christ. What could you even say about this last year? I mean, man, we sat down and gathered and spoke because it was a lean year for the whole fucking planet. We were on the same picture at the same page. We were locked down, put into our fucking sheds. We missed everything. The only sport that entertained continually through the hard times was pro wrestling. When we speak about this business, we speak about how it doesn't love us, but it was still there for us. Every other sport wasn't. And now to finally have what we stuck to and gather together to speak about weekly, just to create a little sense of normality and have some friendship and watch each other through computer screens, pay us back tenfold with some of the most exciting times in the sport. Man, it's good to be alive. It's good to love pro wrestling, and it's good to still be a fan.
I agree. That's the best way we could end the show. I concur 100 million%. To be fair, WWE, AEW, they literally went out of the way to make sure that we had entertainment, but also keep their business alive. But at the same time, it kept us entertained, exactly. And I think everything Jay said is 100%. And I think going into the future, because there isn't lockdown anymore, so there's no excuses anymore, Vince. We just sit back and watch, right? That's all we can do.
Watch, enjoy, criticize, and love. And remember what.
And keep your Twitter posts to a minimum. To a minimum. Don't be abusing people just because you don't like their opinion. Please. Good Lord. I'm on Twitter every day and all I do is just go, why? Why do you hate the world?
No interest in Twitter. If we had a Twitter, it'd already be hung.
But all joking aside, guys, it's been a phenomenal show. This has been a great Podmen, very old school, very, very old, long format as well. And I think we covered quite a lot of great stuff, to be honest with you.
We covered love and wrestling.
Yeah.
And remember that. Wrestling loves you.
Yeah. And I think that's the only way to close out the show. In fact, in 3, Jay, you close out the show. Let the people know that we still love them, that you're still here.
Well, would you be watching? Baby, we're here for you because you're here for us. Oh, yeah.